welcome to Z Reviews. I'm Zeospantera, your host, and this is $9,000. Welcome to a Platinum Edition. Zeos, don't forget to put the gemstones in the title. So, let's see if it costs $9,000 in WA23 tube goodness to make the Shure 1540s, which is one of my favorite pairs of headphones. Not for the sound, but for every other reason. Let's see if it makes them work. And I already know the answer. Yes. Just yes. Like, oh, yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. No game, no life. Actually, terrible recording quality, but yes. So, Woo Audio, which has never really been known for like cheap, affordable things. I mean, well, they have made like some, you know, attainable $500 things. They're usually known for things like this. Like this is like an $1,100 portable DAC amp. This is their solid state DAC amp, and it's a pretty big chunk, and I love it so. I may have had some alcohol, but that's fine because we need it for this. Well, Jack has decided it's time to say fuck it and just throw all his eggs, like the chickens, the eggs, the hens, half the barn. He just threw it out there into the wild and said, I'm going to build a $9,000 tube amp. We're going to see who bites. So, a friend of the show, patron, Ali, has bit. He also, you may recall, loaned me the Nautilus. And I'll be getting the mass cover from him, so he's out of his fucking mind. Hi, Ali. Anyway, this showed up. And initially, I had no idea what to do with it. Like, I didn't even want to put the tubes in it because it's expensive. This channel is not designed fundamentally to handle $9,000 individual pieces of equipment. In fact, the last time I had the Nautilus, which was the most expensive piece of audio gear, this is just tying that. The last time I had the Nautilus, I was like upstairs and I had like blue curtains, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. We're just gonna go basic wallpaper available in the Horde. I'm going to tell my patrons and subscribers to support this channel. Because guess what, everybody? I didn't buy this. If I could just buy this, I wouldn't need patrons. No, I need patrons to loan me these things because holy shit. That's a pretty nice Honda Accord. Well, you know what? Should I go check out Cars and Bids for a Honda Accord for $9,000? I'm sure you could find one. It is a stereo tube amp. It runs 5 tubes. A PS vane comes by default. These are electro harmonics. These are also some Russian Sovtics in the bottom as your preamp tubes. And it looks different than every other tube amp I've seen. In fact, it looks fucking amazing. It is a chonker in the front, real skinny in the middle, a chonker in the back. And over here is the separate, I didn't put a sticker on. I was going to put an anime girl sticker like right there. But I figured there's like a price point where that's not funny anymore. But you got an external power supply, because usually you got a tube amp and you could just see them back there as a big honking piece of copper. Well, here's your big honking piece of copper. I want to tell you, it says the weight on this is 30 pounds. And maybe that's accurate, but the density of how this is built, like the metal, SJY's Umis are about to go whoopsie. The way this is built makes this feel like the densest piece of audio equipment I've ever reviewed. Feel. We're going from feel alone. Because as soon as Jack broke that $5,000, $6,000 border between like, all right, this is an expensive piece of gear to, holy fuck, what are you charging? You have to bring it to that other level where everyone who touches it feels special in the eyes of God. And that means making it weigh 30 pounds. I don't even like, I don't need it, but let me tell you, everybody who's been in my house, this has been around and not running, because it's currently running, it's been running for a few hours, and she is hot to the touch. The whole thing is, ow, to the touch. I'll just try to pick it up. Just put your hand under it. It's got angled metal walls here, and it's like, fuck. Like you need like if you build like a little Lego truck to try to pick it up, it would just break the Legos. It is absurdly heavy. 2 parts, so they could separate it for the looks. They put this on a big umbilical cord, which we can unplug at middle of this video. I'm trying not to make it like 100 hours long. I asked Ollie why he's buying this, and his answer was to preamp into other things, specifically probably the Mascobo when he gets that, which I will be getting for review. Thank you, Ellie. Currently, I am preamping this. The way I have the system lined up right now is I have a measly R2R DAC, the pathetic Denafrips Aries 2 is feeding into it. I also have this absolutely garbage SMSL VMV D2R, which turns out is a ROM DAC, and I love that. And I also have a Gishelli Labs trash DAC feeding into it, because those are 3 DACs that I actually trust and love. Because you have 3 inputs. There's knobs and switches and buttons, and everything here is expensive and bespoke. The volume knob, I actually do have a problem with the volume knob. While it does have a nice indicator there, and it is lit, under even moderately bright lighting conditions, you can't tell it's lit. And then I have a problem with that hole. It's very rare that I have a problem with the hole, but I have a problem with this hole where that I can see it. When the volume is down, I can see a hole that is to take a tool, go in there and unscrew and take off the knob. And I just feel like a unit this expensive shouldn't have any holes. Somehow giggity. Let's take a tour. I'll walk around because there's no fucking way I'm picking it up. Here is my adapted 4-pin XLR. It says stereo above that. On the opposite side, it says headphone, which is 1/4 inch. Don't know why one's labeled stereo and one labels headphones when they're both actually for headphones. Then you have a series of smaller knobs, a large knob, which is volume, and then I swear to you, I didn't look it up, and I'm like, where's the power button? I plugged that in. There's no light here. It was like, under here, there's your power button. Actually kind of wiggly and loose. Not as like solid as I would expect. It's not like a straight like ba-junk. It's like wee boop, boop. But anyway, you got to turn it on, and if you're a psychopath, you're gonna leave it on all the time. Princess Pasta was in town, and I had left this on yesterday because I might have reviewed it yesterday. I was gonna review it today, and she literally came upstairs in a panic, like, "Do you know that tube amp is on your desk? It's so hot. It's so hot. It's like an oven." It's like, yeah, I know. I've reviewed in front of it several times. It is absolutely bizarrely warm all around it. Headphone out, headphone out. I don't care if it's a stereo. Very nice knob. You get to see the actual brass internals of the actual thing that the knob is encased in. Whatever. Preamp or headphone. Impedance high or impedance low. Gain for the headphone amp of high or low. And that also works out for the preamp. And then you have your inputs 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 are RCA, 3 is balanced. Control surfaces covered. Let's walk around to the back. Loo. I have some apples. We have got our RCA inputs here, which these RI cables are way too nicely coming out of there. And then you've got your little Amazon Basics, because we basic bitches. And then these other RI cables, which are Italian made. And I want to point out that these came with the unit. I've never seen these, but you know how there's like silicone plugs that cover unused RCAs? You know, Woo Audio has made them gold. I don't know if they're actually gold, but they cover at least 2 of them. They don't cover 4, which is kind of strange, because if you're going to use the balanced, you'd cover all 4. And I don't know if they're to prevent like a ground leak, because it's one solid connection between the RCA tip and shield. So these might actually have an actual acoustical purpose. When you're not using an input, you can do that. But then again, I just said it, wouldn't you need 4 of them? Here on the right-hand side on the back is your preamp output. I'm actually going to shut the unit off for a second to unplug the umbilical cord, which I don't like this gray. I feel like they could have done better than this gray, or shielded it with something. It's fine. It just doesn't match the aesthetic. I'm using a gray Amazon base. This is what you're going to buy from this review. Ooh, look at this beautiful hospital grade cable from Monoprice. It makes all my equipment so smooth because I keep it spooled instead of folded. Anyway, look at how many pins we got here. We got a 7-pin with this wild, like spring-loaded connector. It says WEIPU SA16 series. Straight out of a piece of medical equipment or a nuclear submarine. And you literally line it up and go, ah. Let me put the amplifier back on. The end. It's pretty basic. Like, there's no hidden switches. There's no thing on the bottom to adjust the gain. It just is. It just is. And what it is very good. Now, unfortunately for all of you, I don't like even consider things past a certain price point. It's just not my style. Like, someone could tell me, hey, this car is $2.9 million and it could do this and this. And I'm like, that's nice, but I don't even consider that, because beyond like 100 and maybe 150,000, a normal human could save for a decade, put aside 15 grand a year and spend that money and get a car. $9,000 for a tube amp is beyond. Not quite as far beyond as some things, Mascoba being 17,000, the fucking amount of gemstones in the title of that one. But it's like, all right, it's fun. It only has to perform as well as my maximum price cap of like $5,000. And then everything else is just you're paying for the luxury of having it. Would this be worth $5,000 as a tube amp? Maybe. Maybe. I'm just going to give it a maybe. That's the best case scenario right now. It's like, well, Zeo said maybe. Because Zeos can't contemplate owning it. There's never a point in my life where I'm like, you know what? I didn't spend $9,000 on this. Never. Never once. Spent $13,000 on a fucking truck, and I use that thing like 3 times a week. If I spent $9,000 on this, I wouldn't use it 3 times a week. It would be too hot, especially in the summertime. So, starting out with the headphone amp portion of this, we're going to plug back in. We're toned down. We are on headphone. We are on input 3. I could switch it to input 1. We'll come off the ROM deck. Low gain, low impedance for the Shores. Put them on my head. There is a slight buzz. These are relatively sensitive headphones, and there's a slight buzz. I tried to use this for IMs. Also a slight buzz there. Should there be a slight buzz? Is there something wrong with the tube? Is there something wrong with the amp? I won't know until I turn it all off. And in 2 days, when it finally actually cools room temperature, I'm going to swap just those 2 tubes and see if it moves from left to right, right to left. When it's playing, however, and you can't hear the buzz, it does some remarkable things with sound. Like do you want the tubiest tube amp that's ever tubed? Here you go. Finally. I've been trying to hammer this into people's heads for a while now. And Woo fucked it up with the 22. The predecessor to this that was like $3 grand, $2,500. It was actually relatively affordable. Many, many air quotes. This is not the cleanest, most, just out. I can't distinguish it from solid state, so therefore it's great. No. This sounds like a warm-ass tube amp. It just is a warm-ass. It just is a warm-ass tube amp. And, it's not the most powerful tube amp, but it's certainly... That, I think, is 8 watts a channel, the Solaris, which, by the way, all the links to the Solaris had to go away because YouTube's doing this thing now where it's scanning all your old URLs. And apparently, the creator of the Solaris has passed away. I think he was Hans, or really good German guy. Super cool. He died. Audiophile was basically no more. And someone bought the URL, turned it into fucking phishing attacks. So I got a nice email from YouTube saying, hey, by the way, this video is now going to have this link blocked and shouldn't do this again. So I checked. You know how many times I linked that in videos? 26 times. So I had to go and edit 26 different videos. But the power ratings, we're getting to the power ratings on this. Hold on. I'm in the actual thing. It's 30 pounds. It consumes 160 watts. So if you ever had a 160 watt heating pad, that's what this is consuming. And it's basically all coming out. Compatible headphones, 8 to 600 ohms, blah, 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 blah. Are you actually going to tell me the power output or you're not? I don't think it's going to tell me. I think it's going to be one of those units that just literally fucking doesn't care. It doesn't need to tell you. It's the WA23 Luna and you're going to love it for what it is. I think on high gain, it won't push tungsten, but that's a voltage issue. And also tungsten being a planar, it's kind of weird in the whole tube space anyway. You can't run IAMs on it. They're too sensitive, and this thing has too much. I don't want to call it noise, but I'm going to call it life. Tube life. You're plugging directly into something that is trying to give you the most tubey experience, and that means you're going to have to understand. It's like, I like off-roading. I'm going to buy an SUV. And then you buy an SUV, and then it drops you at Moab. All right? This is like, you have to be ready for all the tube responsibility, for the noises and the quirks and the interferences and the mismatching, because this is going to let you know about all of that. Now, when you get it working, and it works beautifully, it does exactly what you hope and pray that everything that works. In fact, I'm going to use this out of here into here and into here, because we've got the classics HG600s. They don't need high gain. They do need high impedance. You could actually hear it. It sounds like a volume difference, but it's a noise shape difference. When you flip it to high impedance from low impedance, because these are 300 ohm, you hear it settle into the correct corresponding sound. And then you just play. I'm just switching between DACS also, which is fun. Just go doot, 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 doot. And it does a remarkable job, because this is outputting full zeros, and the Denafrips is outputting full zeros, and the Gishelli Labs is outputting full zeros, and they're all even. So they're actually accommodating for that internally. So here's the thing. I don't think you should buy a $9,000 tube amp, just in general. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your situation is. Spend $3,000 on a tube amp. Take that extra $6,000, put it to charity. All right, just any charity. I don't give a shit. Local soup kitchens to getting orphans through college, whatever. But if you're going to spend $9,000 on a tube amp, you had better be using it for the preamp as well. You got to be. All right, you can't leave. Not a single port on this is not plugged into right now. I wouldn't do both at the same time in front, because it would feel wasteful. At least use all the parts of the Buffalo. So I've got the head 2 here on this lovely stand, which I don't know if I could link it because I don't remember who sent it to me. But it's a beautiful hand. He hand makes all these, and they look fantastic. I've got it in the VMV, which is a very clean amplifier. Clean, linear, neutral. And that's what it's for. But you know what else it's for? It's for testing, silly. Switch that to pre. Crank it up. You can set it actually to low and low here, and it will affect this. Impedance won't, but the gain will. I'm actually putting on low gain. We're going to get the fuck off of Red Hot Chili Peppers, because they recorded like shit. And we're going to sit here and listen. Wait. Pee break. Again, drinking. Broke the seal. So I know these headphones. I just finished a review of them earlier today. And I kind of know this SMSL stack because I got it and I'm super excited about it and I wanted to hear it. So I know that this is a very good DAC, which we're not using currently in the situation. Well, we are, but we're not switched to it right now. And I know this is a kind of very focused amplifier. It's neutral and it's just powerful and clean and Triforce. So plugging this into this, I already said in the review of this, if you haven't seen the review of the Head 2, that it is a headphone that literally tells you what your amplifiers sound like, but maintains its characteristics. It's 9 straight down the board, and if you plug it into a slightly warm amp, it's slightly warmer and 9 straight down the board. Slightly cooler amp or neutral, or what's a bad word for neutral, but I don't want to say it. You know what I mean. Put it into a boring amplifier, it's going to sound still 9 straight down the board. It's just not adding anything. So knowing how it sounds on this, now preamping through this, it's a whole different world. I actually agree with Ali for his purpose of this. He's gonna probably power something with it. But this gem right here, which is $1,000 peasant $1,000 amplifier, this could really use like a nice, soft, like massage oil rubbed in all its crevices to sort of like bring me to the zero gravity lounging chair with the cucumber peels on my eyes. I don't want the incense burning. If you want that, you're not going to get it out of the VMV straight. You're just going to get a solid powerhouse fucking amplifier. Inject this and everything it's doing here into this. It's a completely different experience. So now we have infinite godlike power. And you're just stealing all the best. You're stealing, I'm going to say this, 70% of the tube sound is now being shoved to that solid state. And 70% is pretty fucking good. Usually if I'm doing like, oh, I'm preamping this or I'm tube preamping this, it's maybe 30%. 30 to 40, and that's just, I'm making up numbers, is probably a measurement that would actually tell you the percentage of difference. But in my brain, if I'm tube preing something, it's so I can add a 25 to 30 to 40, maybe if you're lucky, 40%, the warmth and the smoothness of the tube amp. This feels like 70, which is just not heard of. The only thing I have left to do is I have to pick up that, which is my Class A own S17 Pro, and then preamp the DAC into that, then into this, and then this into this, and just, I feel like if you're being an asshole, and let's face it, and I apologize to all my friends and family, and well, not family, they don't have audiophile problems, but everyone who I'm about to insult, I apologize. If you're one of those assholes who needs to have a $40,000 chain, I could see this being the most fun way to do that. Going from a DAC you love or trust, and I wouldn't spend more than like $1,500 ever on a DAC, ever. I'm looking at you, HiFi Mini F600, and then putting it through, now I believe, I'm a firm believer in that Class A own headphone amp, just modifying the sound, modifying it to just be more structurally warm through a solid state. Like, speakers are incredible through it. Now take that from your DAC and now push it through this. The world's, it's not the most expensive tube amp. Let's fuck it. Come on, get real. But it's like, it might be certainly from the units I've reviewed, and I've reviewed quite a number of tubes over the years, and this is the most expensive, or the second tied for the most expensive. The most change the sound is coming through that I've ever heard through the pass-through. So we got DAC into this, out into this, and this whole unit, it's not a mass Kobo yet. Let's put it that way. When we get that, that's going to be a review. I don't even know what the wallpaper. It's just going to be on a shuffle. Like 17 different, you know what? It's a great idea. Zeos, write this down. When I do the mass Kobo review, you'll have a folder with 17 different waifu backgrounds, and every 60 seconds it'll change. And every time you see a waifu, that's another $1,000 it costs for a $17,000 mass Kobo. I'm gonna have 9 backgrounds now. You're getting a bigger chunk of difference than I've ever heard on a tube. And that's what the stock tubes. I'm sure these fucking people are gonna, you people, you know who you people are. I see you tube chat. They're just gonna roll it. They're gonna be like, well, have you tried changing those out? The tubes, by the way, if you want to know the actual model numbers of said tubes, is the 5U4G rectifier, one of those, the 6C45 driver tubes ×2, those are those, and the 2A3 power tubes ×2. Wait, maybe those are those. Yes, so the driver tubes are the little guys. It's hard to judge. Yes, the little guys are the 6C45s, and then the 2A3. I don't have like a chart. I'm sure someone will link it in the description or in the comments. I'm sure there is, like, you know, the wallpaper that's like all the planets in Star Wars and all the ships from Star Trek, and it's going to be all the Formula One cars throughout the years, and this is going to be all the tube types available for audiophiles, and there's going to be the 5U4G and the 6C45 and the 2A3, and they'll just be part of that giant poster that some kid puts on his wall. That kid being very, very fucking well off. Self-biasing amplifier, single-ended, all-tube design, not hybrid, Class A operation. So it says single-ended, so using the balanced out is irrelevant. It'll take balanced in signals at full voltage, and it'll give you a 4.4. but it still says stereo. But this says headphone. It's very fucking weird. I don't know. So it's not balanced because there's literally not I mean, there are enough tubes if you were doing it, but it's not. It just says single-ended. Headphone amp or preamplifier. You can't run either or, but you have to watch out because your volume knob, again, stays. So if you have something plugged in and music is playing, and then you switch to the pre, we're at a pretty good, like, 1 o'clock here. If they were different, you would go blow up. One of the other would blow up. I haven't really... You know what? We're going to take this out, plug this back in. Give me the 600s raw dogged straight into this thing. I said raw dog. By the way, Periapt cable. Love them. Love them. Move this over, pull this up. So Zeos, do I need one of these? We need to be on high impedance for 300 ohm. And we need to hit... Oh God, it's Bakemonogatari. Yeah, Lovin' Spoonful's better. I can max out on low gain, but it's a very quiet track. You basically can run 600s, HD600s on low gain. Fucking Sammy Hagar. If you're not testing this with Sammy Hagar, you're not the right person to be spending this sort of money on audio. I feel like high gain is going to be for people... Like, it makes it louder at, like, 1 o'clock less or 1.5 o'clock less. That's how you measure things, right? Clocks. I don't think it changes the sound profile. In fact, I usually like most amplifiers if I can keep them on a low to medium gain. Pushing an amplifier to high gain kind of makes me feel like I should get a bigger amplifier. Then comes tungsten, and you can't find one. Tungsten, by the way, will not run on this. Just wanted to point that out. It's your one-way ticket to midnight. Own it, heavy metal. It's the best the HD600s have ever sounded. That worth $9,000 to you? You owners of HD600s. What's the best they've ever sounded for you? Because this is how the best they've ever sounded for me. Now, being that this is being bought to do this job, it maintains a lot of the fucking specialness. And usually it's because you're putting the draw of the headphone on the tube, but there's so much tube here that the draw literally doesn't even affect it. So they've done whatever circuitry they've done to loop it through to the XLR outputs is just doing a fucking bang-up job of keeping almost everything I like about the sound of this tube amp and pushing it into a solid state through the preamps. You might even be able to push clip speakers solid state with this in line of it. I mean, it's going to cost you more than almost every clip speaker that exists, but, you know, you're crazy, right? Yeah, you're fucking crazy. The soundtrack from The Professional. It's just, it's like a layer. I'm going to try to describe it now, and this is going to be horrendous, but luckily there's still alcohol in my system, so we're going to be fine. It's like there's layers of the music playing, and usually you hear like the front three. That's usual, like any speaker amp, headphone amp. And when things get better, and this is not just a soundstage improvement, but like a layering of instruments and things, you get to hear more of those layers. Even if they squish together, you can just tell that there's things happening different than it was on your phone's output or the cheap Fio DAP from 10 years ago. There's just something about it. And this, through that, granted, $1,000 amp, $9,000 tube with a $800 DAC. And it's doing something that's just, it's so many more layers stacked on. It's like fucking sashimi paper, whatever the Japanese, like, super thin noodle bread paper. It's just like, okay, there's another 16 of them in this quarter inch, and I'm just hearing sounds move between them fluidly. It's $9,000. If this video gets 12,000 views, 10 of you might have the disposable income and will to buy something like this. So if you're one of those 10, minus Ali, who's actually bought it already, are you considering it? Because despite this review, despite if I'm saying something, oh my God, how does it make Weezer sound that good? Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, Weezer sounds like shit. You could like all the Weezer songs, sounds like shit. Like, that's just run away from Weezer. It's just it sounds good. Through not even the straight tube, not even going in there. Oh, I gotta flip the switch. Even better. I don't know. You know what? I can't. Let's plug in one last thing. The Umis. I believe these are the Umas. Uma Thurman? Umi Thurman. I was going to write the name of these SJYs on them because they're not labeled, and it's getting harder and harder to remember names. Like, it should be stamped in the top. Just yeah, just tell me what the fuck you are. Like the Empyreans do. So we're all the way down. We're going to go into the stereo output. We are low impedance on these, and we're going to go high gain, maxed out. So here, you want to know the hardest headphones you can drive on this amplifier directly? The Umis, SJY Umis, which sound fantastic, by the way. They are planar, however. Oh, London Music Works, Did anyone ever realize that the Batman Begins soundtrack titles were stupid as fuck? Molosus. Like, what language is this in? Great songs. I love Batman Begins, but it's like, fix your titles. I don't know if I want to turn it down or up. I want it louder or quieter, because it's a fantastic fucking amplifier, all right? Fucking Dexter had to come on. Literally the soundtrack you could just listen to the most if you watch any of that show. Not the new one and not the last season of Dexter. It was fucking terrible. Wallpaper in the Horde. This cooling off. I'm going to swap at least maybe the outside tubes first, see if that changes where it is. Because it's the slightest buzz. And actually, if you reset the amp, occasionally that buzz will be less. Tubes just being tubes, bro. Tubes just being tubes, bro. The only power indicator, by the way, is this little orange light here. I originally, if you've seen this on the desk in the last couple of reviews, this block has just been sitting on the table back there, the storage of units table. Like that's the guts of the fucking Z reviews is down here. And that's just been sitting back there, because why the fuck would I want this to take up space on my desk? This, like, I'm not joking, it's 9 pounds. It's 9 or 10 pounds. This thing weighs, it is like a solid hewn piece of copper. But anyway, why would I want that on my desk? I just want this on my desk. Hide that thing, because it doesn't serve a purpose. There's no power button here, just a Woo logo, a little tube, and a light. But without that light, you're relying on noticing the glow of the actual tubes to know it's on. Then again, you're also going to know it's on because you're warm. Physically, from here, you are warm. So, yeah. Congratulations to Jack on making a tremendous piece of equipment. Now, minimize the weight and the cost and let other normal people buy it. But then again, you always need to have that, like, unattainable unit that everyone strives for, and then they end up buying like the 2 or 3 price brackets down. And sometimes that's enough, and sometimes you want the best. So the Luna gets that fucking... It gets the best thing Woo Audio has ever made. Seal of approval. Better than the Fireflies. Better than the WA11 Topaz. It just is not affordable. For, again, more than 0.1% of the people watching this video. So links to this, not an affiliate link, by the way. I make $0, so I don't really care if you buy one or not. I do care if you buy one because, you know, I've passionately spoken about it. But at the same time, it's like, think about those charities. Zeos, link a charity, any charity. I did Smile Train already, so let's find another one. Just link one in the description. And when you look at the price of this, I will link this, and I will link something on Woo Audio that is at least $5,000 cheaper than this, and a donation link to a charity. And you tell me which one you click. All right? Because I'm trying here my best to accept, like, oh, expensive audio equipment is expensive for expensive rich people. And I just can't do it. So, links in the description. I'll link to the VMV stack. That's from Apos. She's in the wallpaper horde. You can get every wallpaper I've ever used ever by clicking the link, installing Resilio Sync, and syncing the 2.5 gigabytes of wallpapers. That's because YouTube, again, is scanning links, and it thinks that might be pornography. And I'm like, but it's a drawing of a girl in a bunny suit. It's like, we don't care, we're robots. And it's like, you know what, robots, you have good taste. So yeah, wallpapers are all hidden behind like 7 pieces of software. Patreon and Subscribestar support this channel. Keep the lights on, because if the lights went out, I guess this would still be warm for at least a day. I could just curl up under it. Yeah, so you get to see reviews early for a lot longer now that I'm doing 3-day release schedule. Participate in yard sales, which this won't be in. Most of my tube amps I like to keep, so it's really sad. Plus, it's harder to ship them. But 1st to the 10th of every month, you get to buy things that I'm finished reviewing with, whether that video has been released or is still private on the Patreon. Once you sign up for Patreon or Subscribestar, you can watch the review and bid on the item accordingly. I ship everywhere in the world. Half shipping internationally, free shipping to USA and Canada. I just absorb the shipping costs. And then for $10 a month, you get into the private behind-the-scenes Telegram chat. You can ask me questions directly. Talk to the man who owns this, and the Masked Kobo, and the Nautilus. I think he's still in there. He's still in there. He's still in there. Maybe he won't be now. He's too famous. But, yeah, that, and you get into a lifetime swap meet channel. So if he decides to sell the Nautilus or this or the Masked Kobo, I'd buy the Masked Kobo. Like, that's the problem. That's how good the Masked Kobo is. I'm about to make a case for a $17,000 headphone amp. My fucking head. Yeah. Oh, I forgot one thing on the so $10 chat, lifetime swap meet channel to buy, sell, and trade gear. Then $5 was see reviews early, participate in yard sales 1st to the 10th of every month, and loss of sound demo. So when I do a sound demo for the heads and for the Umis and for what else is here that needs a sound demo, the heavies, the ones with for the rock and roll, those sound demos are no longer available on YouTube. No headphone sound demos are on YouTube. They're all private. So I'll see you in the private sector. Is that what you call it? I guess you could call it the private. That's the kind of, you know, that works. Whatever. I hope Ali spends a good deal of time and effort thinking about which anime stickers to cover the top of this unit. Or they will probably curl up and just become goo, because it's legitimately, even this gets warm, but I can leave my hand on this. That's like the hottest cup of coffee you've ever grabbed on the outside. That is the best way I could represent it. Anyway, I'm done, you're done, we're done. I'll see you all in 3 days. Or on the unboxing channel, or on the Inner Fetish channel. Those are links in the description. Anyway, goodbye. I need to go.